Hey there everyone. Seems not too many people here yet. I probably didn't really issue this early enough, but I'm sorry, I've been busy with other things. I gave a few minutes of head start. Okay, let's plug that in. Okay, that's alive. Get our blades out while we wait. And we also need to wash that one. So it can be nice and slippery and smooth. Hey there, Jim. Oh, Oliver's here too. And B-Blood. And Xiang Shishi. Ed Boss and Aiden. Alright, so it takes a little while for these to get sufficiently heat soaked. It is off at the moment. This is an iPad 9. I don't very often get the 9s in. You know, most of the time it's the 6s, maybe 7s and 8s, but predominantly 6s at the moment. So it's always a bit of an interesting change when a 9 turns up. Hey there, laptop. Verity. Now I don't know how difficult or easy this one's going to be. It doesn't look like an excessively bad cracking on it. You know, it hasn't shattered too much, but up here is going to be a bit of a mess. So it's going to be a difficult spot. So let's put some glasses on, get to it. Actually, my glasses have got a crap on them. Of course they have. Why wouldn't they? I'll make them worse by smudging them. Something's on the glasses right in the viewing point. That's going to be annoying. Now, unfortunately, the display would have already been partially contaminated by the air, so there's going to be dust all over it. Doesn't matter. We do the best we can. If it works, everybody's happy. Ow, ow. Yeah, with iPad screens, if they're simple cracks like this, it's certainly a lot less drama to get them replaced. But when you start getting all this smashed up stuff, it does become a real pain. If you want to do the job properly. If you're going to be a done in 30 minutes mall shop, then yeah, I guess you don't care about those things so much. just hoping the sensors and stuff haven't been too damaged. I don't think it should be. I think it's a light, just an ambient light sensor, that one. Wow. Who doesn't need some glass in the fingertips? Flip. Yeah, it's becoming a little bit annoying. Hey, B-Blood. Yeah, Joe, I've tried the packing tape a few times in the past. I'm not really... The packing tape and I method don't really get along, so I don't bother with it. I have tried it a few times. Like I said, it's just some techniques work for some people and not for others, and I've just never had the greatest of luck with the packing tape. Come on, don't rip. Almost got it all. I don't know what I just saw there. I was just pulling this out and... Oh, it's okay, it's a piece of... There's a little piece of glitter or something, and it's like fire red glitter, orangey fire red. And I legitimately thought for some moments of a time that as I had done something, all of a sudden it was catching alight. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense that such a thing would cause that, but you know, when you're in the middle of trying to repair these things, that sort of stuff does cross your mind. You notice I don't actually slide this blade like up down so much in this area, because if you do that you'll sometimes catch the Wi-Fi antenna. So I'm doing it now because it's cleared. You know, the glue's being disconnected. I'm just trying to be careful here because the home button flexes there. Alright, so around about this time I switch over to peeling the display off, the glass off, and just hitting it with hot air, get it to separate from down here. You've got to be careful though, there's a crack along the screen here, and if I pull up this section, this top section too hard, it may drag the home button flex over it and cause it to get torn or cut. So I'm going to have to be careful about how I go about this. It looks like it's coming off alright though. There we go. Yeah, we're good. Marvelous. Screwdriver. Hey there, Harold. Okay, I'm just going to carefully extract that tape back. Yeah, we'll just let the digitizer rest against the keyboard, why not? Now for the probably the most nerve-wracking section of this whole process is getting the display panel out without wrecking it. Yeah, B-Blood, I saw that about the dodo. You can bet your boots the first thing they're going to do when they've got them is send one off to Kentucky Fried Chicken and see what they taste like. Damn, that's not coming out. Hey, Mr. Tritz. Ooh, dangerous. That has been very reluctant to come out. Ah, finally. They will bend quite a distance, but that in itself is scary because you sort of just keep letting it bend and then there's no real indication that you've approached or approached the yield point. The only notification you get is when you've exceeded the yield point. There we go. Gecko commentary. Okay, let's put that in a safe-ish place. Which in my case is the drying oven. Also, of course, this, when you replace the screens like this, there is still power into the board, so you do have to be careful. I should say you have to be mindful of it. Yeah, and as usual, it's decided to rebond itself, reacquaint itself with the chassis. This is actually a really well stuck together one. As you can see, it really wants to hold on to that glove. Okay. Getting this little section off can be tricky because you don't want to put too much pressure on it. You do have to get something in and under. There we go. Right, I think we've got enough heat there now. I'm starting to burn. I don't want to go down to the local hospital in the wards, Burns ward. We've already had enough visits down to the accident and emergency department. Okay. Now we've got to get this button out. You've got to be so careful handling these buttons. Like when it gets stuck to your fingers, you get that temptation to just tear your fingers away. But while you're holding the home button, it's so easy to just rip one of those flexes off. And then that'll be the start of your bad day. Just got to get this guide off as well. I'm not sure if the replacement has that guide. Let's have a look at it. So the replacement comes with another home button assembly, so that's nice. Just for the guide and all that. These are the highest grade ones I can get. Okay, it has got the guide. So I don't need it off there. I can throw that away. Looks like heatsink transfer compound there. Trying to decide whether I really need to remove the bracket or not. I don't think I will. I think I'll do the shimmer hot glue trick. Bee blood, it can sometimes for me get like that down at the hospitals. Certainly it was when I was younger. There you go, welcome back, Paul. What have you done this time? Looks like the microscope's gone off. Come on, it should fire up any second now. Yep, here it comes. Yeah, need a little more light, I think. There we go. So what we're trying to do is we're just separating that plastic spacer off from the rubber membrane, because there already is one on the new frame. We want to do it in such a way that the adhesive stays with the membrane. Okay, we've got that. That's good. I'll just clean up that surface there. A little worried, even though I haven't actually touched it with bare fingers or anything like that, the fact that there was a little bit of dust there. And so I go and put freaking... oh, that's great. Now I've just turned it into a walking disaster. And I need my hot glue stick. I'm just going to put these rather small pieces of hot glue down here. We just carve it off. Don't need a lot. They almost look a little bit like fingernails. Go away, Miles. We don't need your prejudice opinion there. It's very useful stuff in appropriate quantities. I do agree, it does generally get quite excessively used, so I understand. You do have to be quite sparing with it. Wiggle it back and forth, squeeze out the excess, and then it forms a nice bond once you let it cool down. B-blood, I was as a kid. I did it on myself. Which is why I'm not anymore. We'll set that aside. Now we've got to work on cleaning up that frame. Not much point doing a good job on the replacement glass if you've got a really messy frame to put it on. Because all that will happen is it just won't stick. But of course, whenever I do a really good job on the frame, is usually when I get caught out, I forget to peel off something and have to redo it again. It's just like I don't know. The universe seems to enjoy torturing me for that. Hey there, horse. Look at this glass that's coming out of it. I mean, if the glass rattles around in there, it's not the worst thing. It's just more annoying than anything else. Fortunately, it's not electrically conductive or anything. The worst it can probably do is, if you're very unlucky, it'll cut a cable. Well, that's quite unlikely. Alright, so we've got residue of the adhesive all over the place, and we're just going to have to go along and slice it off. The job title. Oh yeah, just hang on a second. Beep. That might get updated. There we go. There's an immense satisfaction of taking off that adhesive, and it all just sort of like glides off. And then you're an idiot and you stop, and then it just starts smushing the adhesive. Hey there, Kenny. B-blood, that would actually be the worst in terms of customer experience, that's for sure. Yeah, can't imagine that'd be too pleasant having a piece of glass in the middle. Oh, that's not a nice noise. And it does take a while to do this cleanup. I have used tape to remove adhesive. No, I suppose there's one way of doing it. Seems kind of like swallowing a spider to get rid of a fly that you swallowed. Because then you've got to remove the tape. I wonder if they changed the adhesive type compared to, say, from the 6th generation. It does feel a little bit different to 6th generation adhesive, but it's probably the same. It's probably more a case of, by the time I get my hands on a 6th generation iPad, if it's a new one, the age has made the change in the adhesive, so that's why it probably feels different. Put the tape on the adhesive pull generally, keep going Oh, right, okay, so you sort of, yeah, I understand what you're doing. I have a new thing. Well, it's not really actually that new, but I'm redoing it again. I'm going to start up my bounty system again because I've tried to organize people to get some sort of, some work through various um, repair sort of grant systems and grant systems, whatever you want to call it. But what I'm finding is a lot of the time, the people who really can do the work, the people who just want to get in and solve that problem, or complete that task, whatever. They're not the same sort of people that want to go through coming up with proposals and doing all that sort of reporting and stuff like that. They're just people who want to focus on their work. That's what makes them good, is that they're good at their work. But things like reports and proposals and all that just make their skin curl to the point where even if you offer several $1,000s for a grant, they're just going to walk away because they're like, you know what, it is several thousand. I could really do with that several thousand, but I cannot stomach the idea of doing that sort of paperwork. So anyway, I'm bringing out the bounty system because there's obviously several things that I would like to see being done, and it's pretty simple, but there are risks, and I'm not the one that's carrying the risk really. Basically, the risks are that more than one person can be pursuing that bounty, and even if you put in all the work, there's no guarantee that what you put forward will actually satisfy the requirements. From my perspective, you may think it satisfies, but I may turn around and go, you know what, this just isn't going to work. And of course, things like ownership of the code or the product or whatever it is will generally defer to me. I'm not going to say that I wrote it. I'm just going to say I have the legal rights to it and can relicense it as I see fit. Stuff like that. But for people, including myself, who very frequently just want to have a task like write a decoder for this, and they just want to get that task, they can do that task, we'll get the task done, take the chance that someone else isn't going to touch it. And in most cases, you really don't get multiple people going after the same thing. Not at this level. And I mean, obviously, yeah, I could scam people and get them to do work for nothing. But I've got a reputation too, so I obviously need to make sure that I uphold my end of the bargain. And then basically at the end of it, if what you present does the job, you get the money. End of story. There's no proposals, there's no grant, interviews, there's nothing. It's just deliver the goods, get the money. End of story. And like I said, for people like myself, that's exactly how I prefer to work. Rewa sell a glue removal rod that removes adhesive and breeze. Okay, I'll have to have a look at that. I mean, I don't have a huge issue with doing it this way, but yeah, if there is a cleaner, safer method, I'm more than happy to have a look. As long as it doesn't have some sort of crazy chemicals in it. Like though, you'd see people advertise that they've got underfill removal solution or something like that. This stuff pretty much gives you cancer just looking at the bottle. You do not want to go near that stuff. Gotta get that squeak. Hey there, Arilla. So yeah, so I'm putting up bounties, and a lot of them will end up finding their way, the results will end up finding their way into open source products. But sometimes I feel, the problem with open source is that a lot of the times people write what they have to write to satisfy the itch that they've got. And then once the itch is gone, it's up, over. So money is actually a very weak compulsion force for a lot of people in that respect. So if you are going to offer money, you have to make sure it's really easy money, in the sense of they're not going to have to jump through hoops and stuff like that to get it. Because like I said, it's a weak motivator. I know it sounds silly, people think, why would money be a weak motivator? It really can be a weak motivator, because if you usually have just enough money to survive on, then you're not compelled to. It's I'm struggling to describe what I mean. As long as your fundamentals are met, then money sort of slides back a little bit on the scale of priorities in life. People, I wouldn't say software writers. Basically, what I'm after are people who have a knack, or at the moment anyway, a knack for reverse engineering things. Most of the time, once I have a spec on stuff, then I prefer to write the actual final implementation myself, because in many instances, if you over-spec things and make people effectively try to write a final implementation for you, it's a waste of time. You're better off getting sufficient information for the task and implementing the final, implementing it yourself. But in many cases, getting that information is the hard part. Alright, it's clean enough. Yeah, Harold, exactly. Yeah, money will motivate you for a week, and then that's the end of it. Yeah, it's like when if I've got to do manufacturing, it is the worst thing in the world for me. I can't stand it anymore. Yeah, if someone says, you can make $1,000 a week, which isn't a lot, but if you can make $1,000 a week, all you got to do is just put these pieces of electronics on this board and throw it into the reflow oven. It's easy, and you're correct. It is easy, but that in itself is actually the problem for a lot of people. It's too easy. It's boring. And for the people that are going to be able to deliver the sort of things that I'm looking for, then repetition, predictability, all that sort of stuff, that is the very antithesis of what compels them. A lot of these people, they just want to have an interesting puzzle, solve it, move on to the next one. And I'm more than happy to go along with that. Of course, there are other people who are more than happy to, when it comes to work, they're more than happy to clock in, do the job, clock out, and then outside of that, that's where they find their entertainment and do their own things that keeps them entertained. So you've got to try and understand what the behavioral pattern or what the wants are for the people that you're trying to capture. Now, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, I find that the people I'm looking for are people like myself. Like I said, yeah, some people thrive on the whole being able to just clock out mentally, just do the task, do the task, do the task. Other people, it drives them insane. People are different. You got to find find what makes them happy and see if it works. Yeah, see, I mean, that's just it, people. You've found a way for it to be relaxing for you. Whereas for people, well, I know for myself, it's kind of relaxing for the first little bit, but then it drives me mad. I think a lot of it comes down to sort of, it's just your own mindset. I'm the sort of person that ends up probably working right up until the day they die. I'm not really one for retirement, as it were. I don't have a lot of non-work activities. That is actually a problem for me. Like, I really do need to put some more time and effort to try and find something that I can do outside of work-related items. 'Cause it's not healthy to be constantly on the work mindset. Yeah, that's annoying me. Stay. Miles, that's exactly right. Yeah. And it's, yeah, you often used to hear, or you still do hear, people say, just do what you love and you'll be rich or you'll be well off. And it's like, that really isn't true. It really isn't true. And many times you'll end up making what it is that you love die. It will become a toxic association, and you'll one day snap, and you will not be able to ever do that again, and you've subsequently lost what you loved. Yeah, Jim, that's true. I've got a cat sanctuary to run. Good point. We actually got our first quote for the fence today, and I was quite happy. It was 14,000, which is quite a bit cheaper than I was fearing. I was anticipating around the lines of 300 linear meter. We've got about 100 meters, so as you multiply that, and you get about 30,000. So that's where I was thinking we were going to be. So to see 14 come up was actually really nice, which means I'll probably be able to get the roof done as well as the fencing. It'd be very nice to have, because the roof desperately needs doing on one half of the house. Took these slightly out of order, which is not a good thing. Geez, a cat hair just fell in there. Actually, no, it was a carpet hair. I haven't forgotten the top one. I'm just... What the flippity flip happened there? Yes, Jim, colour bond. The roof in particular I'm actually quite excited about because finally we'll be able to get some sarking installed on the roof. Because right now the roof does not have sarking, so it's sheet metal onto rafters, air gap, and then insulating wool or whatever, insulating bats. So I really want to have sarking put between the metal and the rafters. And the sarking, it's very thin, it's only a quarter of a millimeter thick or so, but it's reflective and it helps keep the heat out of the house. Hey, Christian? Yeah, sarking is just reflective foil. It's not the same as like, you get over in America, I see you guys. Okay, what's going on here? Oh, it's locked. Damn it, I think someone gave me the passcode for this. I've forgotten the passcode. It was given to me and I've forgotten it. Oh well, no problem. It is working. There we go. What's the stuff you guys use over in America and whatever? Oh, you guys use Tyvek, and that's sort of like a moisture barrier type thing. Whereas we use reflective foil sarking, which is similar sort of thing, but instead of keeping moisture out, we're keeping infrared type heat out. And like I said, it doesn't seem like it would do much, but it definitely makes a difference. And yeah, it was just a bit of disappointment that when this house was built, they were running out of money, so they cut things like insulation and stuff like that from the build, which is it's a false economy, because by the time when you start throwing air conditioning in, you're going to pay for that regardless. Like I said, I understand how it happens. I'm just saying it's just unfortunate that it went that way. I did end up getting like I said, I got the insulating bats installed into the ceiling space, but the trouble is without the sarking, you've got that volume of air between the top of the ceiling and the underside of the metal sheets of the roof as just this great big hot air mass, which constantly heats up everything. And we do have ventilation out of the roof space, but it's just not enough to handle the thermal load that gets imposed on this house. Alright, so, well, that looks good. We'll just put that aside overnight, and that will help it sort of like bond in. Even though we're not using glue, it is adhesive, as in it's tape that's holding it down. I still like to squish it down a bit to get it to squeeze out any bubbles and imperfections, things like that. So anyway, that one's good. iPad 9 done. Now we can get on to another job. Yeah, that's right. Tyvek used for envelopes. I quite like it as an envelope material. It is definitely very effective. We don't get them over here in Australia. I don't know why, or at least I don't see them very often in Australia. We only encounter it when we say get a package from America, through FedEx or something like that. And yeah, you get that. It's a lovely material. I quite like it, but I don't really see it around here in Australia. Roofs here are cement tile. Yeah. Fortunately, Miles, I never took the battery screw out, but Nice attempt at making me panic, jerk. The reason why I don't take the battery screw out is because I never really... I've got a little wedge thing that I made myself like this, but I don't really ever bother. Jim Allen, yeah, just to see stuff like that over in South Africa. But of course, in terms of engineering of the building, things are different here where I am versus a lot of other places, say further south or in cold areas. The buildings here are designed to hold the roof down, as in you've got to restrain it, keep it pulled to the ground. Whereas in other climates, your construction is more made to hold the roof up, stop the roof collapsing, crushing the building down. So the reason why we have that is because we've got the cyclones, and the cyclones I've found the cyclones love to pull roofs off houses. So that's why they do that here. And tin roofs make a good material for being able to do that too. Yeah, you screw it down with a lot of screws. It's lightweight, and you strap it and all that sort of stuff. Let's see. It's the law. Yeah. All right. So what have we got? This is this unofficial Mac JSON one. Let's see what's going on with this one. I think it's a 5 volt. 5 volt, 200, 400. Interesting that it's staged its way up to 400 and then... Okay. Try a different port. 160. Okay, it seems like we've got a damaged port. Maybe the front left one's damaged. Which means I'm probably going to have to... That's going to be fun. Okay, that's 400 there too. Oh, shit. I've got another machine doing exactly this. You got all sorts of different current values across the board. This may have to wait around until I can get more CD3215s. We'll give it a whirl, but I have a feeling this one's going to have to wait until I get my new stock. Yeah, B-Blood, yeah, if you don't want your tin roof to peel away, there is a way you have to construct them, which is what they do around here, which is why our construction costs are actually quite high. Whenever I go looking in the catalogue of, say, nice little sheds I could get or something like that, they give you, say, a price of $7,000 for the shed, and you're like, yeah, that's not too bad. But then you look at the cost of it for your area, which is cyclone rated, and on that 7,000 becomes 10,000, and you're like, ah. So yeah, there's a lot of extra engineering materials that goes into preventing them being peeled off. It's as disappointing as the old days when I'd look in American magazines like for my model aircraft and things like that, and you'd see, say, radio transmitters selling for $150 and you're like, oh boy, that's cheap, I'll be able to finally get one. And then you find out by the time it gets to Australia that 150 becomes 500, even though the exchange rate was only like 1.5 times. But when you go through all the different distributors, the import duties, taxes, freight, holy dooly, that was hard, that one. Do you ever get it where the screens are fused together? Every now and then, not very often. I actually don't mind doing those ones, although most people sort of balk at the cost of it. But if they don't balk at the cost of it, it's actually a very easy repair, because you don't even have to worry about getting contamination, nothing. It's just pull out the old mod. It's like basically an oversized iPhone. So yeah, I actually don't mind those ones. I just don't get them often enough. Okay, so we've got here green sort of corrosion. I suppose I better disconnect the battery. Jim, I sort of live on the edge of a cyclone area. Townsville is a definite cyclone area, as they found out with Yassi. But, gee, what was the one that hit in Althea? Cyclone Althea in 71 or 70? Anyway, so yeah, Townsville is, and we're 100 kilometers direct line from Townsville, but we are at a higher elevation. Needless to say, these are the wrong screws in the base here. These are flat top screws, which are not correct for this position. Anyway, so yeah, we are rated as a cyclone area, even though by the time a cyclone gets to us, it has lost a considerable portion of its energy. And unfortunately, they won't change that rating, so we are compelled to have full cyclone rated equipment and buildings, even though we do not actually get subjected to it. Yet down south in places like Brisbane and Sydney, Melbourne, they actually end up having far more severe storms than what we do up here. But the building codes are less stringent. Well, I'm sure that's probably going to change soon because, the last couple of years they've just been getting hit time and time again. And I think the insurance companies are going to start, well, they already are, the jacking the insurance rates way up to unrealistic levels, or just not insuring people at all. Yeah, homeowners insurance, we're not too bad here. I think I pay about 120 a month here, which is cheap as. And that, if something goes wrong with this place, we will ideally get about 280,000, which is not enough to rebuild this place as the same size, but it is enough to rebuild a place that's livable and, it's fine. Especially since we already own the land. Yeah, B-Blood, that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, unless you get to the point where you have a couple of 100,000 sitting in the bank, but at which point you may not worry about that $100 a month that you're paying for insurance, or $200 a month. I'm not really sure what I'm going to find here. I'm suspecting some levels of corrosion, but like I said, the mixed current inputs is throwing me, and like I said, I do have another machine. It's not one of these, it's an 850, and it's doing the same thing. When I say an 850, I mean an 8200850 board. 5,500 for a year, dang. So it's $100 a week, basically. Yeah, so you're paying 4 times the cost I am. Still, what is the payout for your insurance? I mean, like I said, our payout's only 280,000. Yours is probably going to be substantially more. Yeah, B-Blood. That's unfortunately where a lot of us have to work. Like I said, I don't mind it per se. I would like it to sort of like slow down a bit so I can have some time to do other things. Okay, we've got corrosion. We don't have underfill, so that's a nice change. Yeah, basically we don't go on vacation. For us, vacation is 3 or 4 days without customers, but we wasted them because we're panicking. We're like, God, we haven't got customers. What are we going to get our money from? Hey there, Daniel Laser. Right, so if we had to guess, we'd say this one here is problematic, and that is, I think, the front one on the left-hand side. And we've got a corrosion down here as well. That cap could be kaput. Actually, I better pink mark that because I'll probably forget it. I've still got well, at least another year of paying off the mortgage. If things go brilliantly well, it'll be all paid out in 12 months, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. Mostly because I'm spending all the money on things like fencing and roofs and kitty cats. No real money gets spent on myself or Alita. We've got a 20-odd-year-old car. We've got two of them now, and they're mostly broken down, but yeah, we keep them going. There's probably the most fancy thing we have that we've bought new is the fridge. And then, okay, what's happened here? There's been some rework on that or something. Something weird's going on there. And, yeah, this has been reworked. Right, this is basically dead, folks. That is a very unfortunate rework. That is for the VREG, for the SSD, and it's not been, yeah. That a blowhole in the PMIC? Yeah, what? I don't think so. I thought it was just a piece of, yeah, it's just a piece of crap. But that is problematic. That is not enough heat for what they're trying to do. They've clearly had a shorted cap here, and then they've, yeah, it's probably eaten partway through the board. So we may, I don't know, we've got a combination of a CD3215 issue and a destroyed SSD issue. Hey Jim, 3X, sorry. Okay, the NAND's are reading okay, it's about 1K. What about this one though? That's a little on the low side. But yeah, this hasn't been cleaned properly. I'd say maybe this was done without a microscope. Because yeah, you can see that that's not even connected there. Yeah, that just breaks off. Not enough heat's been applied, there hasn't been a reflow. I suspect what's happened here also is that they've been terrified of the idea of cooking the NANDs. And so they didn't do it properly or with enough heat, and subsequently it ended up being a bad job anyway. Oh, whoops. No power to the fan because I was doing drying today. Okay, let's plug in the fan. So I'm going to clean this up and I'll replace that VREG, and at least then, like last night, at least we can sort of feel confident that if it does get power 20 volts through, then from there we haven't subjected the board to an unnecessary risk of destroying its NAND. Looks like they've run a wire there. The funny thing about that is that wire is just altogether way too thin for the amount of current that travels along there. But again, like I said, they're really concerned about the heat, I can tell. They may be quite shy about applying, damaging the NAND. So yeah, they're definitely concerned about the NAND. Okay, B-Blood, what do you got there? 363,000. Okay, so it's not massively more. Yeah, it's less than I would have expected, to be honest. Yeah, so there's a itty bitty teeny tiny. Yeah, they've got themselves a VIA stalk there, but it's not going to do the trick. So when you get this situation on these boards, the easiest way around is you basically just stack another cap on top of this one, because that cap there is on the same rail as that cap there. When these first started showing up, it was actually pretty easy, because most of the time, due to the actual life of the machine, yeah, they weren't that old, then the corrosion on these caps was very limited. It hadn't started to eat its way into the board, whereas I can see this one's already started to burn a carbon trace down in there, which is not a good thing. Fortunately, it didn't go too far. So I'm definitely going to replace this V-Reg, even though it doesn't look to be showing any signs of corrosion around it. I'm replacing it just out of an abundance of fear. It may have already in fact been replaced, I'm not sure. Hey there, Trevor Knott. How can you fix this at 11:50? You're from Perth. You can get Green's Pet Barn Townsville. Yes, actually, I did see that there were greenies at the Townsville Pet Barn. I go in there on a regular basis and wipe out their stock of certain foods. Right now, we're actually draining the local Woolworths of a lot of their food, because it's on special for $1 a can, whereas normally it's substantially more than $1 a can. So we've kind of bought a few hundred cans. That looks pretty. Pretty. We'll put a replacement on that. This is a 1041 board, by the way. Now the 1041 can be a little bit tricky. I've been caught out before, where you think you've got the orientation right, because there's this here. It looks initially like exactly what we're working on, but it is not. The main thing is that this is the bottom side of the board, whereas we are working from the top side of the board. See, this is the top side of the board. So therefore, it is actually this one up here. We've got the board rotated, so pin 1 is up here, whereas on the other side it's down here. Believe me, I've been nearly caught out on that. I was very lucky I decided to take an extra measurement and saw that it was shorted out after I replaced it. Let's see, TPS 62180. Hey there, Mr. Stamps. Okay, replacement. That's like 1,000 times too much flux. Sort of approaching Rossmann levels there. I prefer to stick around with Jason Vilmer, SDS Telecom, Paul S type levels of flux. Hey there, Ruggers Custom. Warren Stamps, did I get your email? I may have. I may have. I've had a few from you recently, so I'm not exactly sure which. And I've been fighting with certificate authorities, which have been driving me out the wall. In part because of my own stupidity, in part because of the difficulty of getting certificates issued. Hey there, Keith. Okay, so we've got 1K on that rail. Let's see about this rail. 670, so that's pretty good. You know, we've got hope there that the NANDs are actually still intact. To be fair, Miles, of course, Jason is working on iPhone, so it's kind of a cheat in his favour, isn't it? I mean, you're working on those itty bitty phones. It's awfully easy not to use a lot of flux. Sorry, I'm just looking for a board that has, I'm hoping the caps on it, but I have a feeling they don't. Let's see, this is a 1041. Well, it's a 1041, but I haven't got all the caps on it. Where can you find? Oh, yeah, no. I don't know anywhere you can get one of those, Warren. All I can say, Warren, is good luck to you. It's a little bit too new. I've seen I can get batteries and some other attributes, but I don't think I've ever seen screen replacements for them yet, or digitizer replacements. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. That one, I'm a dud. Tony, yeah, SSL for code signing. Not the normal sort of website stuff. This is for signing Microsoft binaries. I also got my Apple developer certification, or membership rather, not certification. As far as Apple's concerned, if you pay the money, that's a certification. God damn it, it's stuck together. Flippity fire truck you out of here. I don't know why they didn't want to separate. I mean, technically, yeah, I can just sort of stick them there, but it was just sort of annoying that they wouldn't even separate. Trevor, are you calling me Rossman, or is Lewis annoyingly in this channel discussion? If Lewis is actually in the discussion, he probably should be banned because he's misappropriating the image of my cat. Okay, I just want to verify something. I'm pretty sure these are... Okay, they're 20 and 10s. I'm pretty sure these are also 20 and 10s. Yep, 20 and 10s. Okay, cool. Mr. Rossman expects the world from me and gives me no respect in return. Right from day one, all he's done is been disparaging towards any great efforts I've attempted with improving the repair world. But he insists on being a typical New Yorker. Yeah, Jim, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but we never know. Stranger things, I suppose, have happened in life. We're very different people, though. Yeah, I'm really not happy about how they've clumped together. That's really, really annoying me. Normally, you can give them a bit of a tap and they come apart nicely. But those ones decided not to. It's not a major problem, like I said. I mean, they are electrically connected like that. But it just looks a little bit embarrassing. Wait, what am I doing? Yes, Rossman has run away to Austin, Texas now. Oh, this is frickin' awful. Jim, it sounds like you're feeling a bit hurt about being referred to as a New Yorker. Does that make you the sensitive one, or me? Who's more sensitive, the one complaining or the one complaining about the complaining? Rossman created a short. Was it a short? Because that's how long it took before he put his car into the side of the road with the ice and the... Can't believe he did that to Meme Car. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. I thought, poor little Meme Car. That's the other thing, Meme Car does its best for him and he just heaps on the hatred for the Meme Car. Maybe I am going to have to fly to New York one day and deliver some kind of... I don't know. You're not complaining, you think it's hilarious. You're ruining my fun there, Jim. We're stitching these together because of the fact that we can't... I'm just first loading it up with solder. It's damned ugly right now. Really, really ugly. This is probably the worst work I have done in the last 2 hours. So yeah, this is sort of as good as the work that we were looking at when it arrived here. Maybe the board is cursed. Okay, I'm going to try and use the Reaper to separate them. Oh, Grim Reaper is usually pretty good at separating couples. There is a clearance there, but I might try and take away some of the solder there. It's running a little close to that cap. Tom, yeah, the Grim Reaper did the job nicely for me. I thought it was standard humour for the internet these days. Dark humour, inappropriate humour. God damn it, you know what? It's as ugly as sin, but I might have to actually go with it because I am legitimately getting to the point where I'm pushing the nans a little bit too hard. So yeah, we're gonna use the electric toothbrush, clean that up. Yeah, Jim, I often wonder about that. You know, people say humour doesn't need this, that, and the other, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just immature. That I would believe. B-Blood dropping the science jokes. That's good. Science jokes are good. Even with an electric toothbrush, there are often times where it's no substitute for getting in there with the toothpick and going mono on mono with it. Particularly because a lot of that flux got baked. That's why I was sort of like starting to get a bit annoyed with the flux. I mean, obviously if I added more flux prior to it baking, it would have inhibited baking. But I was too late. It had already baked. It will get ultrasonic later, but this is just for seeing if we actually can get life on it. And besides, I think with that sort of level of baking of the flux, ultrasonic will only go so far. Especially in the little 5-minute sessions it has. It's not going to be able to displace really crusted on flux like that. Right, now we can actually go back to that CD3215 and see if there's something we can do about it. So, not that one. That cap there is a bit of a problem, we should test that. Get our continuity mode. G'day Ainsley. Well, it's not shorted, but it's only a few pieces of bad luck away from being shorted, so we're going to remove that and replace it. Don't exactly know what it's for at this point, but we're still going to replace it. And there might actually be corrosion on this little piece here. I'm just going to have a look at that from the edge. Ah, damn it, the flux got to it before I did. Resistor on the far end. I know what you mean, but it's actually not too bad. It's what I consider to be acceptable. Like I said, it's always easier from my perspective because I can see with a lot greater clarity compared to what the camera gives, even though it's a good camera, it's not the best. And then YouTube itself decides to mess around with the quality. Ah! Alec Potter, I use OBS. So pretty much the same as almost everyone else. That I think there's about 5 or 6 people who use, what is it, Xcode or something? Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 people who use that and everyone else uses OBS. XSplit, right, thanks. I knew someone would get irritated enough to respond with the correct one. Xcode, of course, is what Apple uses. Hey there, Vachumba Welby. I haven't seen you for a month and a half, 2 months, is it? Probably longer. Yeah, so this is a bit of a walking disaster up here. Trying to work out what's legitimately at risk. Okay, I mean that cap doesn't look great, but it's not the worst. I'm gonna say there's corrosion under this CD3215. I really don't want there to be because that means I've got to take it off, put another one on. Oh, that cap looks dirty. Hello there, Sarah Related. Pachumba, sorry to hear about you being ill. That's certainly not good. Okay, it's not corroded, but okay, these are all little picofarad type caps for noise constraint. And I'm going to replace that one. These ones are fine. They'll clean up okay. Yeah, there's the rusty coil, and there's crappy parts everywhere here. Not too worried about the rusty coil yet. Oh there, Nelfin Reaper. What did you miss? Everything. Come on, give me some Jason Bloomer style. Oh, that's terrible. Well, I suppose worst case scenario I can take a CD3215 from here. The problem I've got at the moment is I'm out of stock of fresh known good working, well not known good, but ones that are fresh from the reel or the strip. The only ones I've got are ones that I've pulled but then sort of found that it wasn't actually at fault. Oh, glad to hear you're back to repairing things, Pachumba. 1708, it's a decent start. Saw a few people reporting 1708 issues the last couple of days on the Macbook repair group on Facebook. Yeah, look, it's just gnarly all around. I'm going to pull the 3215. I don't want to, but well, let me at least first test to see if any of the diode modes are out of whack. Gotta be careful when you have decent sort of boards like these ones. These are from old jobs that the customer just was very generous and let me keep the board. The fact that all the parts are there and everything, you can accidentally start repairing the wrong board. Whereas normal donor boards, they look complete like trash, but yeah, when they don't look like trash, you can make mistakes. Okay, where is that tool? I'm just going to use this tool that was sent to me by Master Liu. It's handy, but yeah, it's handy for these sort of scenarios where you just want to have a quick check and see if anything is dramatically out of alignment in terms of diode modes. That's all this tool does, is inside of it. It has programmed the expected diode mode values of the pins on that connector. And so when you plug it in and press test, that's what it's doing. It goes along, checks each pin against its database, and then tells you whether anything's high or low. What is this? A1790. That's the left hand side. And if there's anything out of place, it will squawk. Nothing wrong on that one. So, it can be a useful time saver, but it isn't, with most of these kind of tools, it isn't a definitive answer. There's been a couple of cases where this will come back and say everything's fine, but then it turns out that there's a problem on the CC1 or CC2 lines or something like that, and it's more a case of it eliminates some portions of possible faults. And everything's fine. So everything, according to this, is actually okay on the outside of those CD3215s. It's a handy tool, particularly if you're sort of like just scratching your head and you're not sure what the heck's going on. It can sometimes just provide that second opinion, as it were. Jack, with that, what I usually do is I have an air compressor that I use after I've ultrasonic. So like I put it into the ultrasonic, 5 minutes aside, take it out, put it into deionized or distilled water, whichever you can get your hands on, shake off most of the water, and then I use the air compressor to blow out all from the underside of the BGA chips. If you don't do the blowout from the underside of the BGA chips, you have a pretty good chance of ending up with a no boot situation. Maybe even doing more damage to your board because there's water residues sitting under them. It used to be a common thing to happen on MacBook Airs. Though for some reason we're extra sensitive. Okay, so we've got this 5 volts, 450 milliamp crap, and then 200 on the other. Oh, there we go, 450 on there. Okay, so we've got consistency on that side. And that side. Okay, so this one, let's see, it's stuck at 160. It's not coming up to 450. So there's a chance that that one is the faulty one. Yeah, which one is it? Okay, so in the machine, like that. Okay, so it's rear left. Okay, so the bottom one there goes up to U3200. Yeah, Miles, that's also a possibility, which is why so many times you end up replacing all of them. Yeah, you really wouldn't think it though. I'm contemplating falling back onto my standard rule, which is unless there's nothing else wrong on a board, replace the ones that look dodgy first. Yeah, they're okay, so it's got to be this one. I'm gonna go and say it's this one here. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Rob Brown, welcome. Did you get any sleep, Rob? Or was your brain dancing around with code? just noticed that that coil actually doesn't look like it's had quite enough flux under it, solder on it, but it. Oh yeah, that's corroded up nicely. I don't know if it's showing up in the camera, but this section here, there's like a milky residue there, along with all these. So yeah, that would have been playing up. So we'll swap that out. Sleep was crappy, just spinning. I hate that. Were you spinning because you were thinking about the code or something, just anything in general? Yeah, nice and clean. Flux it up so that we don't get corrosion setting in while we are busy doing other things. What we do have to do now, we've got to do our little baggy stuff. We're going to sell this stuff on the streets. We're going to go to eBay. People can pay $10 for a bit of crack. Cracked caps, cracked chips. It's a lucky draw. You never know, there could be some good parts in this. Dimebag Daniel. I love that. Dimebag Daniels. Alright, so we need another 3215, and like I said, I don't have any. I've got, I think, about a roll of 20, but as far as I can tell, they're all fakes, so I'm not going to use them. Alright, so I'm just going to take this one from that donor board, and we're just going to have to reball it. Yeah, most of the parts on the donor board look better than the parts on the customer board. Now, I could use the spring-loaded tweezers on this, but I really don't want to because there's actually a lot more force being imparted on the chip than I like with those things. Oh, no. Oh my god. Sorry, just... Where the hell's my heat? Yeah, Miles, I don't believe... Fortunately, in this case, I don't believe the 3215s were the issue on that board. I believe it was a typical dead-end NANDs on it. But of course it is always a risk. But then again, that's not really any different to... Your risk is pretty much the same as buying them new, in quotes, from AliExpress. Or anywhere for that matter. Alright, my fingerprint is actually putting more junk back on there. I don't know why I'm being this pedantic. I don't actually need to be. Those little tiny specks of dust are not going to be a problem. Let's see. We need the stencil board. I intentionally used the micro iron because of the fact that the large chisel one, it just burns up the chip too easily. I'm just cleaning the stencil at the moment. Yep, paste time. That should please all the people who whine and complain that I use balls for the SMCs and things like that. Which is why I always say to people, you pick and choose what is appropriate for the task and that you're comfortable with. Don't let other people dictate to you what you should use. I mean, it's fine if they're guiding you and just trying to give you a starting point. But if you've got a way that works for you, then you do you. What I would love right now is to find out where the heck did I put my squeegee. Don't know where my squeegee is. It's a solder paste horsehair worm. By the way, if you don't know what a horsehair worm is, don't go googling it, alright? Just save yourself the trauma. Like I said, I'm not against people advising people. Particularly if that person actually comes up and says, what should I use here? That's fine. I mean, that's what asking questions and helping is about. But when you're already producing results and not completely making a mess of things like I am right now and completely ruining my reputation, I need my squeegee. Where the goddamn hell did it go? Oh, son of a gun, my soldier just dropped on the ground. Right, looks like Mr. Daniels needs a lesson in life. I'm gonna have to do that again, but first I'm gonna find my squeegee. This is why I shouldn't clean up my desk. I had it like a day ago when I was doing other chips. I can guarantee you, as soon as I start using an alternative, it will show up. Ah, found it. Haha. Found it before I capitulated. Take that, universe. Alright, let's do that again. Oh, Jim Allen, that's uncalled for. The correct pronunciation is solder. Anything else is an offense in the Bible. Oh look, it's a horsehair worm. You'd be pretty unlucky to get a horsehair worm in a human. I mean, it might be possible, but it would certainly be a very unusual occurrence, I think. Like I said, there's always these weird things that can happen. I mean, that's why we have chubby emu. Oh, John, I know about them mostly because I live in one of those sort of environments where you get to see all sorts of freaky stuff happening to insects and animals. And it's sort of a bit of it's just a curiosities type thing. Other terrifying stories are things like the wasps that paralyze spiders, stuff them into a tomb, and then it's kind of like aliens. The wasp baby hatches, then goes and feeds on the paralyzed spider. Delightful stuff. We don't need aliens. We've got the insect world, or just the normal world in general. I have a lot of sympathy for spiders because, for as much as they have a really rough life in general, and then on top of that, they don't exactly get along with humans in general either. We have a lot of spiders in this house, and they run around on the floor, they run around on the ceiling, they run around on the walls, and we do not have a problem with them. They go about their business. We say hello to them. Save them like every now and then. I had a huntsman the other day, and I thought he was pretty much dead, but then he managed to twitch his leg. He was in a curled up position, but he managed to twitch his leg, so I thought, oh goody, he's still alive. And I put some moist paper towel that was soaked in water, toilet paper in this case, and just put him on that toilet paper, put him right way up, and I could see immediately he was stuck his face into the paper towel. And then about an hour later, he was all back to normal and running around and catching bugs. And he still hangs around now. That was about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I did that. And he still hangs around. Oh, that's the donor board. And of course, yes, we do get snakes here, and we have more trouble with snakes, but again, we just give them their due respect. Keep clear of them. Give them a chance to get away. In 99%, well, every single time we've encountered a snake, you give it a chance to get away, it does. If you think a snake is attacking you, it's most likely because you are between it and where it wants to go. It wants to get away from you, but you just happen to be in the path. And then, of course, if you continue to block it, that's when it will change its mind and go, you know what, buddy, now you force me to get to the situation where I feel like I have no choice, but I have to attack you. Even things like taipans and eastern brown snakes, things like that. I understand, though, when people are caught off guard and the snake rears up and the snake legitimately runs at them or at their direction, I can understand that would be interpreted very much as the snake was trying to attack me. But the reality is the snake's just trying to get the frick out of there. Got too much flux. Gotta blow some of it away. That did not go down right. Did it? But in spite of that, like I said, I do everything I can to keep snakes out of the yard. And when summer comes along, or the start of summer, we definitely always dread that, because that's when the snakes are getting amorous and they do stupid things. They get themselves, they get out there and they start thrashing around in the grass and on the ground, and it attracts the attention of creatures that should not be interacting with snakes. So yeah, bad things can happen. I don't know, I really can't decide if that's on square or not. It just doesn't feel right. I sort of held it up. I held it aloft too long. I didn't realise I was holding it aloft. I mean, it isn't massively skewed, but it just feels weird. But of course this isn't helping. This is changing my perception as well, because it's... By the way, this is not a data critical job. This is more a case of, if we can get it going, great. If we can't, so be it. Because it's hip to be square. Yes, it is, pal. Hooray, we're back to 160 on that one. Nothing's changed. Alright, change the other one. I hate this. I really hate this. I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been a way found yet to isolate the two sides. Like a way to simply go, you know what, deactivate one side so that we can test this side. I might do I'll do a voltage sequence test. Crap. How do I not have my CD3215 sequences here? Yeah, Oliver, normally I do end up having to do both, but it doesn't stop me trying every time to only do one. It's one of those things where you try desperately hard not to have to do twice the work. Yeah, the coil is off center, and I'm just sort of trying to work out whether that's throwing my perception. Because yeah, having parts slightly skew is not unusual. The key is not to have it so skew that it bridges balls. But then you do sometimes wonder, is it skew because of the fact that it has got a bridge in it? Okay, so they're the things you weigh up. You got a bad PR32, yeah. They're funny little things. Often on the 1708, if that PI32 goes funny, you can sometimes get 20 volts on one port, but only 5 volts on the other port. It's a bit of a weird thing. It's not always the case, but yeah, I have found if you have 20 on one and 5 on the other, then it's often that Pi 32 chip. Have you got same on both ports? Okay. Looks like I have to get that stencil out again. And wash it again. Clean it again, rather. B-Blood, that is correct. You can't mix them, but what you can do is you can put C00s in place of where B03s were, so long as you replace all of them. But yeah, you can't put a C00 and a B03 together, and you can't put B03s in place of C00s. So basically, for all intents and purposes, B03s can just go into the bin and change everything wholesale to C00s. Right, I'm having a little more trouble getting this damned stencil to sit down on. Yeah, I just get them from AliExpress, C00s. I usually buy 20 for about $50 or so. What the hell? Jeez, if this goes on much longer, I'm going to start getting emotional damage. I'm only using 230 Celsius here with 30% air. I'm able to do this because I knocked that stupid helical air spreader thing from inside of the nozzle. And with that removed, I'm actually able to do things at lower temperatures and cause less sort of thermal spreadage everywhere. Just trying to get rid of the excess. So that one I feel confident about. Put it into the cooler. Oh geez, it's getting late. 1 o'clock, I really should be in bed. I have a feeling probably nothing's going to change. If nothing has changed, I'll come back at it tomorrow because I haven't copied across the diagnostic sequence for this board. I don't know why. I mean, I use these boards. I guess most of the time this particular board and the 1700 is you always are dealing with the SSD issue. You very rarely get a situation where you're dealing with the CD32s. Yeah, same crap, almost. So 140. Yeah, there's something going on with the... Yeah. Listen, I'm closing up for tonight. It's late. I'm going to make mistakes, more mistakes beyond this point. So we had our success last night with the that one machine. So I think we'll better off just catch up with this tomorrow. So, all right then. And yeah, like I said, I will copy across the diagnostic sequence I need for testing all of the CD213s, and I'll put that on open board data tomorrow. And then when I come back to this workstation, I'll just be able to step through very quickly and easily without having to think about it, and so will everyone else then, since it'll be on open board data. So anyway, I'm out of here for tonight. At least we've got the iPad fixed, so that's good.